Jade Thomas is a counselling psychologist in doctoral training at a private therapy clinic, and she has a lot to say on this subject, and very interesting it is too. And she joins me now. Jade Thomas, thank you for joining us on the Mother of All Talk shows. You'd cheer anybody up just seeing you on the screen. You've cheered me up already. But how do you think this has all affected us as a people?
I mean, like you said, it's affected us so much. Mental health is, if you're struggling with mental health anyway, times like this are just really, really difficult to get through. Depression, low mood, the fact that we're in a third lockdown in the winter months. So seasonal affective disorder is probably at its all-time high, which is low mood in the winter months. When we had the first lockdown, it was in summer. We could get outside more. We could see people at distance outside. Sunshine always helps our mood. So going into a third lockdown in the winter is difficult. Obviously there's anxiety with the uncertainty of the situation. One day to the next, we don't know what's going to happen. And then you've also got the factor of loneliness, particularly with elderly people maybe living on their own, and even younger people who live on their own. And obviously they can bubble with people, but it still is very difficult for them coping with this on their own.
Yeah, I mean, my mother is 85, nearly 86. She has spent much of this year entirely alone in the house, unable to receive visitors. My sister leaving her groceries on the doorstep and waving to her through the window and so on. She doesn't say that she's depressed, but she'd need to be made of iron not to be. And there's millions of people like her. Yeah,
exactly. And it's hard to tell whether you're feeling depressed or if you're just having a down day. I know I have down days. We all have down days. Particularly elderly people who are living on their own, who are perhaps used to carers that come in and see them, and they now don't have that. They're stripped of that. And also people who are used to having lots of social communication with different people, whether they're going to work and seeing people or going to university and school and seeing people. And it's really difficult if you're living on your own.
Yeah, and single people. I mean, single people used to think they had it made. They could go out every night of the week. They could go on dating apps and all the rest of it. But it's married people like me with a beautiful wife who've knocked it off actually over the last 12 months. Single people must be going up the wall with the lack of romance, let me put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, dating in this time is quite difficult because it's new, and so relationships as well. If you're in a relationship, that can be just as hard. So you've got both situations that can be difficult in this situation, and emotions can be even more heightened as well in these situations. And if you are single, you might feel like you want a relationship even more because you have that factor of loneliness, or you have the factor of low mood, so you almost want someone there, or the factor of anxiety as well, that you want someone there to relieve that anxiety. So yeah, it can be really difficult if you're single or in relationship.
And even some of those in relationships are facing a completely changed picture. I mean, in their relationship before, one or both of them went out to work, there was time away from each other, and now everyone is together all the time. Have you got any sense that marriages, for example, are under strain?
I think it's very dependent on the situation, and it's very, very dependent on the people in that relationship. Some people, it's maybe made their relationship being together all the time. They might have not had that time to be able to be together and that quality time. So it's maybe, really enhanced their relationship. But at the same time, there might also be that factor of they're almost getting on each other's nerves. So I think if you're in that situation, it's difficult to say what you think is best, but I think putting your own well-being first. If you're feeling unhappy, then you need to address that within yourself. But if you're enjoying the fact that you're both at home, then that's great as well.
Netflix, of course, has had a dramatic uptick. We've all seen a lot more movies than we might have done in a normal year. Tell us what you think people watching and listening tonight should be doing as we face now. It's now obvious we're going to be in this situation for at least another 3 months, maybe 4, but perhaps as long as September before we're back to normal. What should people be doing?
I think it's really important to stay in touch with your loved ones as best as you can. Really take advantage of the fact that we have amazing technology these days. So you can use FaceTime, Zoom, Skype, even if it's just sending video messages or voice messages to get that personalization rather than, a text message can sometimes be really impersonal. So staying in touch with loved ones, I think, would be really key. I think also staying up to date with news as best as you can, because it helps to keep yourself feeling prepared. You almost know what's coming. You can stay prepared, but at the same time, I would also say limit the amount of media coverage you do consume, because if you're consuming it all day, every day, it's on the news from 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. It's constantly giving us reminders, and there's a death toll going up and up and up. So I think also, on the other hand, limit as much media coverage as you do consume, because that can also increase your anxiety. So I would say just stay up to date with the key information, but I wouldn't get too consumed in it and reading everything and on social media and everything like that. And I think in terms of trying to keep your mind occupied, find something that you can really use this time effectively to do. You can keep your mind as occupied as possible, whether that's taking up a new hobby or learning something as best as you can at home. Then I think that's a really good time, and you're kind of changing your mindset that you're using the time effectively rather than just kind of sat waiting for something else to happen. So that would be my key advice for going into the third lockdown for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, you think it's a good idea, for example, try and learn a new language, learn to play the piano, try and do something that you haven't done before that you've long thought you might like to do. This is an opportunity for that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's an opportunity that you've almost been, if you kind of look at it as you've been given the opportunity of time. So something that you don't have the time to do, maybe try and focus on that. But also it's very important to not put too much pressure on yourself. It's not the end of the world if you don't come out of the lockdown, of this situation, and you've learned a new language. That's absolutely fine. It's, knowing what you're capable of and what would make you happy, and just keeping an eye on your own mental health and your own well-being is really important.
I've become expert at home improvements. My DIY skills have developed exponentially. Jade Thomas, thank you very much for joining us on the Mother of All Talk Shows. Don't forget to vote on the